News Talk 1110 and 99.3 FM WBT. Keith Larson, second hour today. And seated to my right, I guess I ought to turn the webcam on. It's not just for the womans. And we've got Frank here running video as well. We're going to get some video of this historic moment up onto the website, the Larson page at WBT.com. Without question, one of the most powerful politicians around here the last, 20 or so years, the former and longtime chairman of the Mecklenburg County Commission, Park Helms.
Good morning, Keith. It is good to be with you.
Good morning, and welcome once again to News Talk 1110 and 99.3 FM WBT. So how's it going?
It's going much different than I had thought it would be. I really do miss being in the game, as you noted earlier. I'm doing a lot of different things. I'm looking for other opportunities to be engaged and to be involved. Incidentally, you mentioned the fact that I missed it, and I got a great email from my friend Bill James, and he said he misses me. And Bill and I have always had I think, a good time in discussing ideas, and it is energizing. It is important to me.
He means that in the most platonic way.
Oh, yes.
Too.
Yes.
I just want to point that out. But I get that. I mean, I do. I get that. And that's why when I read this thing in the Charlotte Observer Monday, it was their catching up with, where are they now kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And it was with Park Helms, who, was it last fall? When did you actually step down and not run for re-election? Was that last fall?
Actually, it was, yes, it was.
Last fall.
Last fall. If you remember, there was a real debate at that time about whether I was going to run again. And after consulting with my wife, I decided that I would rather try to make 50 years of married life rather than run again for the county commission. And I did. Made it.
You did the 50?
I did the 50.
Congratulations.
Went to New York with my grandchildren and had a wonderful time, which I probably would not have done if I were still on the county commission.
And it's been 6.5 years since you've been here. In fact, the last time we talked was over the phone. We heard a little clip of it. It was the day after Tom Cox had been the highest vote getter in the 2002 election, and we talked with you and the man who was going to become chairman then, Chairman Cox, over the phone. That was the last we heard from you, and so it's been 6.5 years, and you miss being in the game so much that you're even willing to come slumming here.
You know, Keith, I do enjoy the give and take of not just politics but public life in general, and you do a good job of testing our patience, I think would be. And I'm a very patient man, and as I told somebody a day or two ago, and after your producer, I guess it's your producer,
Mark,
that called, and I said, well, I guess I'll go and take another licking, but
but you keep on ticking, Parks.
You know, that's what you have to do. If you don't have tough skin, and if you can't take criticism, you don't need to be in the political arena. But that's one other thing that I have realized. I've been in this so long. Literally the 10 years in the legislature and then 16 on the county commission, people were beginning to think I was a politician. And the truth of the matter
Where'd they get that idea?
I don't know, but I'm a lawyer, and I'm a pretty good lawyer, and I'll take your case on a 50% contingency.
I bet you will. Now, there you have it. That's how low the standing is of a politician, that someone is willing to cop to being a lawyer rather than be seen as a politician. Did you? You said you miss being in the game. Did you step down? I understand the 50 years of marriage and that, but did you step down at the wrong time?
Well, some have suggested that I should have been here during this downturn in the economy. so that I could be the one that would urge the board to increase taxes to make up the gap, and maybe that's so. But the other thing, too, Keith, is that it's time for a new generation of people to take over. And, you know, the longer I stayed around, the more people would delay getting into the game. And I don't know whether that's right or wrong, but I do think that we have in this community, I think, one of the greatest opportunities across this country, even with the downturn. I think the opportunities and the remaking of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County is going to be a great, great experience.
But it does seem to me that from your perspective, this would be a terrible time for you to not be in the game. There is unquestionably a nationwide movement toward big GovCo, and you're a big GovCo guy. Locally, you've just acknowledged it, and I want to ask you about this, and I have a lot I want to ask you about. We'll talk more about this, but big cuts at Charlotte schools, big cuts at Mecklenburg County, and I'd be thwacking them if they were, but nobody's standing up saying taxes should be raised. I think if you were chairman, you're the guy who would be doing that. I think you'd be saying raise taxes right now. Am I correct?
I might be, and yet I do think that the board that we have now, there are some very intelligent people on that board, and I just hope they use the good judgment to do what they must. Obviously, raising taxes in a time like this is not a popular thing to do. But at the same time, you have to think about the consequence of having a budget that reduces funding for education, that actually destroys a lot of the infrastructure that has been built up over years, the outside agencies that have partnered with the county that are going to be left out. And it took years to create that. And once this recession is over, you're going to have to rebuild it. You have to think about all that, and I'm not sure I have the right answer. I do have some ideas about it, and whether it's raising taxes or one of the things that I think we need to begin to think about right now is consolidation. We need to merge city and county government.
Yeah, you've always been all about that. I'm going to ask you about that a little bit more. So you miss being in the game, and you miss this. This would be an opportunity to raise taxes. And you very famously once said, yes, I'm a tax and spend guy. And so you would be pushing right now, rather than the cuts that people are looking at, you'd be, along with the Democrats in the legislature and locally, you'd be pushing to raise taxes.
I think I'd be doing some of both. I think it's time for some tightening of the belt. But it's also a time to look to the professional manager and his staff. Harry Jones has done an excellent job of bringing to the board a budget that has some choices, make political choices. And I probably would be the one that said, look, let's don't cut out everything. Let's determine which of these programs, which of these services are needed by the citizens. And let's be sure that when we take it out, that we aren't making things worse. Is it better to add 2 cents to the tax rate, for example, to raise another $20 million and use that $20 million to make sure you don't lay off 500 teachers? Those are the choices you make.
Well, and it's just a chicken sandwich. I mean, it's just a chicken sandwich. It's some sweet tea. It's some coleslaw. I want to ask you about chicken sandwiches. How many chicken sandwiches would we need to pony up right now? Park Helms is in the studio, and we'll continue. Keith Larson, News Dog 1110 WBT.
Keith Larson, now at 3. Ride home.